This video comes from my Archaeology Corroborates the Bible series. Entries in this series are based on the book Unearthing the Bible, written by Titus Kennedy. Kennedy looks at 101 archaeological discoveries that bring the Bible to life. Dr. Titus Kennedy is a professional field archaeologist, an adjunct professor at Biola University, a research fellow at Discovery Institute, and has been a consultant, writer, and guide for history and archaeology documentaries and curricula. Kennedy currently directs archaeological projects in Bible lands, and he has researched and photographed artifacts from around the world. Artifacts left behind from the vanished ancient world of the Bible have been found and recovered through archaeology. What is an artifact? In simple terms, an artifact is an ancient object made or modified by humans, and many have been found, especially in recent years, at archaeological sites around the world. Artifacts include statues, altars, jewelry, weapons, tools, inscriptions, paintings, coins, scarabs, tablets, papyri, stelae, reliefs, and pottery, showcasing the artistic and technological prowess of the ancients. But more importantly, artifacts tell stories of the past. They serve as both visual and informational aids that provide insight into that ancient context and toward an accurate understanding and interpretation. The Bible is a collection of books written millennia ago in places and cultures far removed from modern readers, but artifacts can give us essential knowledge of the ancient world and help us avoid the problem of unconsciously or inadvertently viewing a passage or book in the context of a modern society and time. Because the Bible contains stories from the ancient world, written in a style different than the method of modern historians and paired with theology, many have assumed that the narratives in the Bible are myth, legend, and propaganda instead of accurate history. In fact, the majority of scholars, most media and educational sources, and many in the general public regard the Bible as a fairy tale and frequently portray it as unimportant or irrelevant beyond literary and religious studies. For years, the Bible's been routinely attacked and disregarded on the basis of history or archaeology. And yet, when people look into what archaeologists have unearthed, a different story comes to light, showing that instead of fiction and fairy tales, archaeology indicates that the Bible preserves an accurate recounting of the history addressed in its pages. Specifically, hundreds of artifacts from the distant past have demonstrated the events, people, and places in the Bible to be historical. Names often illustrate historical periods and chronologies, so inscribed scarab seals, primarily containing names of kings, officials, and others in positions of power, can be extremely useful. Scarabs in ancient Egypt are small amulets or seals in the shape of the scarab beetle. They were carved out of stone or made from faience and often inscribed with the name of a king or official in Egyptian hieroglyphs. Typically, the seal would be attached to a ring, allowing the wearer to imprint the name onto clay or wax. These scarab seals were first made and used by the Egyptians, but the practice was later adopted by the Hyksos rulers and by people in Canaan. Many scarab seals discovered in both Egypt and Canaan contained the names of one of the patriarchs known from the Genesis narratives. At present, 27 scarab seals bearing the name Yaqob or Jacob and the element El, perhaps meaning protected by God, have been discovered in Egypt, Canaan, and Nubia, dating to around 1800 BC to 1600 BC. The date range places the original manufacture of the Yaqob scarabs in the second intermediate period of Egypt and preceding the time of the Hyksos 15th Dynasty. While the scarabs may not be referring to Jacob the patriarch and the father of the 12 tribes, these inscriptions do attest to the usage of the name Yaqob or Jacob in Canaan and Egypt during the time of Jacob, known from Genesis around the 18th century BC. Further, it is significant that the name does not appear to be common either before or after that period, demonstrating that the name Jacob was primarily used at the time of the patriarchs, and therefore the narratives in Genesis accurately reflect the historical usage of this name. Another scarab type, possibly connected to Joseph and his time in Egypt, are those from the 14th dynasty, king or pharaoh named Shishai. who seems to have ruled for around 40 years during the 18th and 17th centuries BC. Often referred to as Maibre Shishai, he's the best attested pharaoh of the Second Intermediate Period, with 396 currently known seals attributed to him, implying his power. The seals were found throughout Lower Egypt, Upper Egypt, Nubia, and Canaan, indicating that his kingdom or influence spread throughout Egypt and beyond instead of only being a regional ruler. Further, there is evidence for a long famine in Egypt soon after his reign. Based on the time period of his rule, extent of his power and influence, the famine, and evidence showing that Semites served in the Egyptian government at the time, it is possible that Shishai could have been the unnamed pharaoh under whom Joseph served for many years. Genesis chapter 6 verse 27 says, quote, "And the sons of Joseph who were born to him in Egypt were 2 persons. All the persons of the house of Jacob who went to Egypt were 70. End quote. I see the evidence.